So you're very welcome back. Today I'm going to talk to you about precision shooters and how they control their breathing. It's something that's talked about widely, whether you're looking at rifle shooting or pistol shooting. I'd say most people, most athletes, if you spoke to them, the ones I've spoken to, they'll tell you they know about breathing. Oh yeah, breathing, I control my breathing. And if you ask them any further questions, you find out they actually don't have a lot of insight as to what controlled breathing is about. Seems to be no pattern to it. I would actually suggest that if there was more control around it, they would see the benefit of using it to control stress, for example, through the shooting process. For me, it's directly connected to timing and movements. Without control of the breathing, I don't see how you can have consistency. It's a basic, if you think about it, it's a basic in every sport. Whether you're a runner, it's about controlled breathing. In our sport, it's about controlling nervous system, if you want, as well. Controlling your body. While you're breathing, your body's moving. If the rifle or pistol is attached to that body, which it is, it's also moving. So the more you're able to control your breathing, the better. I think if you were to talk to someone from the outside, breathing, everyone thinks, you hold your breath while you're shooting. If you talk about, for example, breathing in, breathing out, and how in a rifle you'll see the sight going up and down along with the breath, people will suggest, oh sure, all you have to do is, hold your breath and that steadies the rifle. That would be incorrect. I would say breathing it's muscle memory in itself. It's something that you can teach yourself quite easily if you want to improve. A lot of people rush at things. They look at pulling the trigger, getting more lead into a target. That's going to benefit you. If you step back and took breathing as an example, I think that there's quite a good chance that you'll create the solid basis for a shooting process, something that's repeatable and executable even under stress and under pressure. Breathing does affect movement directly. I would say that if you don't control your movement, you're not controlling the shot. If you can repeat a movement, you can repeat a shot. Breathing, breathing is directly connected to the whole body. Rifles attached to the body. It doesn't take a lot of thinking to understand. If your body is moving with your breath, then so too is the rifle or a pistol. You'll see people in a shot process. I've mentioned shot processes before, and they're standing still, you would think, and I don't think they particularly are. I think you'll find that they're not stopping their breath either. They'll have a natural cycle, breathing in, breathing out. Something that I could recommend, I've used it myself, is box breathing. And in box breathing, it's you breathe in for 4, you hold for 4, you breathe out for 4, you hold for 4, and you breathe in for 4, and you continue that cycle. And what you're doing there, by the way, is it's a stress management tool I've used in businesses as well as in this sport. And what it does is it regulates your body if you want. If you focus hard enough on it and you process the steps hard enough, your mind settles, your body settles, you get oxygen in, you get the wastes, if you want, out. You create a stillness, and your heart will actually come into a balance. Your heartbeat, by the way, you'll see in your foresight. So the more you control your breathing, the more in effect you're controlling the movement of your rifle and pistol, I would say as well. Stopping your breath, holding your breath, not a good idea if it's not part of the process. When you get closer to the end, for example, if you try it now, try and hold your breath for 5 seconds, then try and hold it for 10 seconds, and then try and hold it for 15 seconds. And what you'll find, we have a natural inbuilt process of survival. So holding your breath long is not something we're designed to do. The nervous system goes into chaos. You need to get another breath in, but what will start happening is muscles start twitching the longer you hold your breath. So it's important you train your body to cope with the pressure of breathing under pressure. Training would be one thing, but in competition, you have adrenaline going, you have a whole load of other factors there that are going. And by breathing, you will actually be able to control that. Another thing is, you will also be able to lower the sight onto the target. You'll hear people saying that they breathe out and that brings the sight in automatically onto the target. So when you can control your breathing, you can control that deceleration into your target. You can create that safe, strong, repeatable moment where you release the trigger. Every breath is removing the rifle. It's up and down, it's up and down. When you build that in as part of your process, it's a natural occurrence. You are going to breathe out. You can use that, as I said, to bring your rifle down onto the target in a nice controlled fashion. And even a small breath in brings it up in a controlled fashion. So you can control elevation of a rifle by breathing, but also you can control your mind, which can run away with you in certain circumstances when the pressure comes on. So yeah, if you can control your breathing, you can control trigger release, you can control your environment around you. And again, box breathing, as I mentioned, it's one of the tools that's available to you. And it's well worth looking into and trying and testing. And yeah, I would say it's the basis for dealing with pressurized situations, which target shooting most definitely can become. The controlling of the inhale, the controlling of the exhale, that's part of a process that I use. It takes so long, as I said, if you're working off it for the first, I think, 2 months when I started shooting, I worked totally around the 4-second box breathing. Breathing in, holding, breathing out, holding. And literally I aligned all the steps in my process so that I was either on an elevation of breath or on an exhalation of breath. I moved on from that, but that was a basis. And it gave me something. If you can align your breathing with a process, then I think you have a strong chance of being able to create, again, a repeatable process, which is what you're looking for. Not in qualifying, not 60 different shots. It's actually repeated process, repeated breathing, build your process on your breathing, and I think you've got something strong. When you enter that natural phase, just at the pause, I call it, at the bottom of the hill, breathing in is at the top of the hill, breathing out is at the bottom. And there's a lovely little point there where you're at the bottom of the hill, we'll say, and your heart is lovely and slow, and it's lovely and relaxed. And you release when it's all relaxed, not when it's all tight, not on a movement down or a movement up of your chest, for example, where the rifle is going to be rising or lowering depending on where you got it attached to. The sight picture is going to be there. It gives you time, it gives you calm. So I would suggest that it's well worth spending some time on developing. Under pressure, you're going to have adrenaline running through your body. As I mentioned, you're going to have that arm in actually pistol or rifle. Once adrenaline starts hitting, now your body starts to react. The muscles tense up. You can actually end up with what we'll call twitch muscle, and it actually will be trembling right in your foresight. So your breathing will actually help you with that. It gives you some control over one element of your process. Can't be a bad thing. I would say that sometimes if you're not controlling your breathing, you will have to pull the trigger in your mind to get out of that hole you're in where you're starving for more oxygen. And how do you get out? Well, I have to pull the trigger here, and you might be forced into pulling the trigger when actually braking at that point would be a good idea and starting your process again. Rather than pulling the trigger to get another gasp of air in. Sometimes I've noticed myself in competitions where it gets a bit tense, I might actually brake, come out and take 2 cycles of 8 seconds or 2 cycles of 4-second box breathing to bring everything back into a normal flow again before I start in again. I have done that on occasion, and it helps significantly. Once my body comes back into a rhythm, now I can start into a process that's not interrupted, for example. You've got a window. If you work on that window, I'm talking about the window between taking breaths, the window between getting a sight alignment and a sight picture. Those are the windows. And if you align them with your breathing, I think it gives you an opportunity to take a clear shot, a lovely, relaxed, clear shot. It'll definitely reduce variability, which is what we're all about in this shot process, what we're all about in shooting, a repeatable process. Holding the breath too long, you can be sure you're going to end up with tight muscles. The muscles, it's a flight, well, it's a survival technique if you want. Your body is designed to survive. So as soon as it starts to run away with your head again, you're thinking, oh, I need to get another breath. I need to get another breath. Well, now your mind is off of the shot and you'll pull the trigger, you'll start trembling, loads of things can go wrong. Your timing goes out of sequence, and there's a rhythm to a shot. Every shot has a rhythm, and when you train around that rhythm, you execute around that rhythm, but breathing is a big part of that rhythm. So you need to align all the breathing with the process, and you'll find a repeatable, enjoyable process even. It's not separate, it's part of, it can't be stripped out and focus on breathing only. It needs to be part of the bigger process, not a bigger process, the bigger process. That's what I would think anyway. Breathing is the basis for your shot. The calmer the breathing, the calmer the shot, integrated with your process, integrated with your timing. It brings control. If you can control your breathing, it's one element you've got control over. And this craft, if you want, it's about control. And the less you let become an anomaly, the less opportunity there is for messing up what repeatability brings, consistency brings. I think control, it creates the consistency. Breathing controlled brings the consistency. Integrated into your process. I'm a big believer in the breathing side of things, because I know outside of shooting, outside of all sports, anxiety is something that you'll hear people with, and there are times where box breathing specifically, that's where I would have picked it up. It would control the whole thing. If you're focused on your breathing, you can't focus on anything else. Now you integrate that with your shot process, and suddenly now you've got a repeatable process, a controllable process. And fundamentally, that's what we're all about, is repeatability and as much control around the process as possible. I'm just thinking about a next video, and a video that I'm thinking very strongly of because it's very close to my heart right now. It's, I call it Getting Back to What Sport is All About, and I'm looking forward to talking to you about that one. Thank you.